What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Now, the car I'm working on today hasn't been in the shop since we moved in here, I think. Maybe once or twice. The E46 M3 is getting some love today, boys, so let me show you what we're working on. Hey, quiet! So for those of you who are new, or really you could be old because I really don't post too much on this. This is my E46 M3. It has an active AutoWorks supercharger kit on it. Now, one of the reasons why I haven't been modding this car out too much is because it's having an issue. And today we're gonna be replacing this part here. So this is the throttle actuator. Now on this car, if you're not familiar, this car does have individual throttle bodies, but there is one central actuator, which is actually underneath the intake manifold, that controls basically this, I don't know what you call this, a linkage. And this linkage will then open up each throttle body at the same time. What happens is sometimes these actuators fail, they cause a check engine light, and that's what we're gonna be tackling today. So I actually picked this up secondhand from a friend of mine, and this part was removed from a working vehicle. Actually, a car got totaled. So the throttle actuator is known to be working. The one in my car is probably faulty. Today we're gonna be replacing that. So before we do that, there's two other things that we're gonna be installing today. And I wanna say a huge thank you to Motorsport Hardware because they sent this stuff out to me several months ago and I just have not had a chance to install it on the M3. BMWs, for some reason, they decide to use wheel bolts. And what happens is when you take the wheel off, when you unthread that last bolt, the wheel actually can just drop down. Now, I'm gonna be converting mine to a stud today. So we have some really nice tuner lug nuts here with a conical lug seat, which is perfect for my aftermarket wheels. And it has even the sizing right on the side, M12 by 1.5 with the Motorsport Hardware logo. So really, really nice for track and also just for the street. It'll make my life a little bit easier, and I think they look pretty rad too because these are extended studs, so that's awesome. Now the second thing here is a set of Morimoto fog lights. So this car has fog lights in the front, right on the bumper, but my friend Evan from Vision Auto Lab sent these out to me. So this has got a much more modern style here, much more modern projector, and should have better overall light output as well. But I just think they look a lot cleaner. So this is this side, I think. So that's gonna look really, really nice in there. Replace the factory kind of scratched up unit. And let's get after it, boys. So without further ado, I'm gonna set you guys down on a tripod. We're gonna tackle the throttle actuator first because I'm the most curious to see if that's gonna fix my issue. So I'll grab a tripod, set you guys on a time lapse, remove the intake manifold, and we'll take a look at what's underneath. Okay, so now that the intake manifold is removed, you actually can see quite a bit more, and it's pretty dirty and pretty gross down here. I do not see anything that's a huge red flag as of right now. Maybe you guys can see something, but obviously you can see here are the throttle bodies. This is our throttle actuator down here. So this car being drive-by-wire, there's actually no throttle cable. So there's 3 throttle position sensors. There's one here, there's one here, and there is one inside in the pedal area. And essentially when you floor it, all 3 of these sensors have to work together so that when you apply voltage to the throttle actuator, it will open or close the throttle bodies as needed. And for some reason, mine is tripping out under deceleration, and I've ruled out the throttle position sensor being the issue because I've replaced all 3. So the next step is to replace the throttle actuator. So it looks like it's just bolted in with a couple of bolts, and I need to remove the throttle position clips here for the electronics here, and we'll remove the actual arm from the actuator, and we'll pop this thing out, put the new one in, make sure everything's plugged back in, and basically repeat that process in reverse. well here we have it. This is the old throttle actuator. And honestly, it does look like it's in pretty good condition. And it does have the same manufacturer, which I believe this is an OEM unit. So maybe this thing's been replaced. I'm not too sure. We'll compare it to the other unit, and then we'll go ahead and toss in the new actuator arm and the new unit, and we'll be good to go. We'll give it a try. Here we go, we're gonna put the, I guess you call it new used unit back in. All right, so I just got the new actuator installed and everything's all plugged in. It honestly looks and feels exactly the same, but let's hope that that was a big part of our issue. Now I'm just putting back some of the remaining brackets and things like that, and we'll go ahead and pop the intake manifold back on. All right, that project is now done. So I'm gonna go take the car out for a drive. Now I realize I really didn't explain too much about what the issue was. So the issue I was having was, or is, an intermittent EML DSC error, basically limp mode, under deceleration and off throttle, usually like when coasting to a stoplight. And I've really been struggling with this problem for quite some time. I've replaced all the TPS sensors. I've done as much research as I could, and I had limited it down to being two issues. One, the tune from Tuning Tech FS, or two, the throttle actuator. Now, throttle actuator is actually a very expensive part, about 690 bucks is my cost on that. And the tune itself is probably about $800 to $1,000. So I figured, why not hop on the interwebs? Let's see if I can find a used part that I know is good. And thankfully one of my friends actually had one from a good known running car, and he sold it to me for 150 bucks. So I figured I'm gonna spend the 150 bucks, see if this fixes the mechanical issue, because I know that I can do that myself. And if this by some reason does not fix the problem, then I'll have to hit up either Jordan from Arcade Tunes or someone else to help me resolve the ECU related issue. Maybe the ECU itself is bricked in some sense. I'm not really too sure. If anyone has any ideas, if anyone's ever experienced this problem before, please comment down below or get a hold of me, because it's very frustrating. The car drives awesome, car boosts awesome, it's really fast, and then randomly it will die. It will have this problem that sends the car into limp mode, and it really is a buzzkill. So I want to fix the problem, and therefore I want to drive the car more. I even want to take the car to the track if I can, but I can't do it with the problem. So I'm very excited because I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers that that was the problem. And let's go for a test drive, and I will report back in just a few minutes.
A few minutes later.
I think that fixed it. That was freaking awesome. Now, I know a lot of you guys are wondering, like, I want to hear some in-car footage. I want to see some in-car footage. Don't even think about it.
Did you fix it?
Dude, it's sick.
What?
I think so. I'm not gonna say it just yet because I want to go out for another drive.
That brand new looking part was no good.
I don't know. I guess not, because this thing
rips now.
Rips,
okay.
Dude. All right, let's go ahead and knock out these other two mods, and then I'm gonna go out for a little test drive with Ricky and Mickey, and because I don't think actually either of them have been in this car, and now it is driving so good. This thing is fun. All right guys, so as you can see, I got the car up on the quick jacks here. We're gonna be installing the Motorsport Hardware Extended Stud Kit. Now what's interesting to note about this stud here is it doesn't have any Allen bolt at the tip. So to install this style of stud, you actually have to use like a double nut system.
These nuts.
You put one nut on one way, the other nut on the other way, and you're gonna install the stud with that red Loctite you see right here. That way the stud won't come off, and as soon as you put the stud in and torque it down to the right spec, then you remove the double nut system, and then you have a stud that's gonna be in there permanently. And then you go ahead and you install the really nice lug nut here, as I showed you before, and you are good to go. So that's a really nice looking setup. It's definitely a cleaner look and a different look than the setup that has the Allen bolt at the tip. So they call this the bullet style stud. I really like the way it looks, and that's why I decided to go this direction. And we'll go ahead and install this wheel, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do it with the double nut system, and then we'll do some quick editing and get all 4 wheels done. And I'll show you guys what the finished product looks like. I also might take these wheels outside and give them a little power wash because they are looking very dirty with a lot of brake dust. So this is why I hate lug bolts instead of studs, because you can't, without being scared that the wheel's gonna fall off.
You all right, Mick?
All right, so I got my double nut set up here, and I got red Loctite. So I'm gonna apply a couple drops. Double nut. If this wants to work, there we go. Couple drops here, and we'll go ahead and toss this in like so. And what's interesting is actually Motorsport Hardware, it only recommends you torque these down to 25 foot-pounds. I believe it's pretty much bottoming out in there. So I got my torque wrench here, just a mechanical torque wrench. Uh-oh, I'm gonna need someone to step on the brake. All right, we improvised here. So, there we go. And then I'm gonna take 2 19s and I'm gonna loosen. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. I might not be able to. Let me set this down. And loosen the outer nut. There we go. And then both the nuts will come off. Okay, and now we have our first bullet stud put in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and repeat that process now a lot more times. We'll do that 4 more times on this wheel, and then we'll go ahead and move to the next wheel. So there you have it. We've now installed 5 of the Motorsport Hardware bullet studs onto the front hub here. They look awesome. Now the last thing that we like to do here is apply a little bit of this extreme pressure lube onto the actual studs, and this will make sure that these don't seize on here. All right, well, this is the finished product, guys. They look so freaking awesome. Check that out. So finally, I have a nice set of aftermarket wheels and a really nice matching set of Motorsport Hardware. Really nice tuner lugs, I guess you call them. Have that proper conical lug seat, and the extended studs look really cool too, because that bullet tip is kind of sunken in, so they don't stick out super far. Just like a really nice clean look. You guys can see it from this far away. They look really nice. So huge thank you to Motorsport Hardware for sponsoring the build. All right, so obviously I'm really not too happy with how this engine bay looks. I did wanted to get this back on here today just so I could see if that issue fixed the problem. So far, it looks really good. But if you guys want to see me refinish this, maybe just a nice proper silver or gunmetal or even like a crinkle black, let me know in the comment section down below. All right, so I got through 2 out of the 3 projects today. I got the new throttle actuator in, and I got the new Motorsports Hardware stud conversion kit installed. What I didn't get to today is the Morimoto fog light upgrade. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go home now, and tomorrow morning we're gonna pick this back up. I'm gonna bust out the fog light upgrade, and then there's one other project that I need to do, and that is the Mishimoto inline coolant temperature sensor. Now, I'm gonna be rewiring all that stuff I showed you earlier, the Mishimoto fan controller relay, and the temperature probe that we're gonna be using is actually an NPT fitting that's gonna go into the lower radiator hose. So I'm gonna show you guys that tomorrow as well. That way that the fans only come on when the car reaches temperature, and they're not just running all the time, which is basically what's happening right now. It's really annoying, the fans are really loud, so I wanna get that all set up properly, and tomorrow we're gonna go ahead and wrap that up. So I will see you guys tomorrow.